let's discuss the relationship between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt for the sake of better understanding the system of astrological compatibility that I use in my astrological compatibility reports that I call weighted synastric geometry. Now, as you can see, the report does not give this relationship a very glowing score. Low scores for the longevity of it, low scores for the enjoyability of it. The synastric geometry between all the parts, major parts, is pretty lousy, as you can see. So you might be wondering, well, why were they able to be a couple for that long? And the answer to that question is look at the Venus. You could see it basically here in this graph, how Venus is perfect. Angelina's Venus is at the end of Cancer, and Brad's Venus is at the end of Capricorn. So they're really, really tightly formed in an opposition, which is great for being strongly attracted to each other in a very spicy, intense way. And the thing about them in particular is each one of these individuals, both Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, have charts in which Venus is very significant. I mean, look at Angelina Jolie's Venus. It's right on her ascendant. And look at Brad Pitt's. It's right on his moon. So Venus is very important to both of these people. And in each other, they found the person who's the perfect match for their Venus. So that's why they're not going to be able to say no to this relationship. However, because it's like one great warrior in an army of weaklings, that great warrior can carry your battle for a long time, but eventually is doomed. And this is a rather interesting point about relationship compatibility in general. You would rather see a relationship with somebody where you have like all 75% compatibility across the board on every factor than to see one perfect compatibility and the rest lousy. So one takeaway from looking at Angelina and Brad Pitt is you really don't want to have vast differences in the compatibility categories. But the more that you can kind of get things to be around the same compatibility, the more reliable and steady the relationship would be. So now let's take a look at the report and see what it says about the main, most weighty alignments in their synastric geometry. So what my report finds is that the most weighty alignment is a clash between Brad's Ketu and Angelina's Mars. And then the runner-up is a clash between Brad Pitt's Mars and Angelina Jolie's Mars. And then the third place, which is still quite close in being intense, is another clash between Ketu of Brad Pitt and Angelina's moon. So here's Brad's Ketu. And where's Angelina Jolie's Mars? You look 90 degrees from his Ketu and you're going to find her Mars right there. That's a very perfectly aligned version of the most difficult synastric shape. Then we also had the same problem between the two Marses, Brad and Angelina's Mars. So Angelina's Mars is here in Aries. And where's Brad's Mars? It's right there with his Ketu. So the same alignment that happens between Brad's Ketu and Angelina's Mars also happens between Brad's Mars and Angelina's Mars. And then you also get the third most dominant factor in this relationship was another clash, this time between Brad's Ketu and Angelina's moon. And there you see why, because Angelina's moon is quite close to her Mars. So you see how these people like each other though? Angelina Jolie has Venus on her ascendant. Brad Pitt has Venus super tight with his moon. Angelina Jolie has Mars really close to her moon. And Brad Pitt's got this super-powered Mars exalted in Capricorn really close to his Ketu, which is really interacting with her. So this is another sophisticated detail that although this thing is a clash, there's a huge clash between his Ketu and his Mars and how it affects her Mars and moon. It's going to be the thing that she's drawn to anyway because she likes Mars. Because she's familiar with Mars. It makes sense to her because it's right next to her moon. She's a Mars person herself. She's got moon in Aries with Mars. Now let's look at a quote from her about how this relationship ended up. She said that by the end of the relationship, she didn't recognize herself anymore. I didn't recognize myself anymore. And I'd become, how do I say this, smaller, insignificant, even if I didn't show it. But it was interesting to tap into this humility and sense of insignificance. So what she felt that he was doing to her was kind of erasing her, or making her invisible, or making her not really notice herself, lose her individuality. Then you got the Mars to Mars clash. It's the clash of two masculinities. Now, Angelina Jolie is so hot. Like, because literally her moon is in Aries with Mars, and Venus is right on her ascendant. So she's got the femininity and the masculinity. So that's why she's so hot. So she's a very masculine woman. And believe me, that is what, if you have the feminine stuff too, and you're very masculine, that's what puts you at the top of the sexiness spectrum. And Brad Pitt, he's a man with exalted Mars, and then he's got Venus real close to his moon, so he's got some femininity to it too. So he's got the opposite thing that also works. When you're a man and you got your manly stuff straight, and you also have femininity to you, it's what makes you super attractive. So that's why these two people are like the sex symbols that they are. But what's going on between them is their Mars are super closely aligned, so they're going to have passion for each other, but they're aligned in this clash. That they're going to have a conflict. Their individuality of the two of them is going to be at odds. Finally, the last thing to talk about is the most significant alignment between these two people. Brad Pitt's Ketu to Angelina's Mars. So that really just clarifies, like, look, it's really reducing and erasing her feeling that she's her own person. So that's a really quick look at how this part of the report works, how it analyzes the shapes, finds the most intense, significant, weighty shapes, talks to you about those, gives you some basic symbolic material to work with for understanding it. But you're going to have to, because you're an individual, my report can't tell you exactly what it means for you, but I can give you the key to understand exactly what it means for you. So if you think, what does it mean? Let's say you're Angelina Jolie and you get this report and it says Brad Pitt's Ketu, which is going to make things introverted, is square and clashing with my Mars, which is my individuality. What does that mean to me? There's a force that's acting on my Mars that's introverting it that I'm not going to like in this relationship. So hopefully this helps people use the reports that you have gotten from me, and also might help you see how cool these reports are. And it's also just interesting to talk about Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And in fact, she's got 2 other relationships that are interesting. So I'll look at those other 2 relationships in 2 upcoming videos. So subscribe and stay tuned, and go get yourself a compatibility report. Thank you.